Today, my guest is former WWE developmental talent. You've seen her in OVW, to Deep South, to Shine, to Wow. She's well traveled in the world of professional wrestling. Miss Tracy Taylor. Tracy, how are you?
Aloha, I'm good. You?
Good. I cannot complain. The cold weather is starting to hit here, so not looking
Oh,
forward to that.
I got about 2 more weeks of nice weather, so I am not looking forward to going back.
No. So, when did professional wrestling come into your life?
Oh gosh. Let's see. I can think that far back. uh, my son was 6 months old, so it had to be 1996. Yes, 1996 is when I had my first professional wrestling experience, and it was on the Big Island. Um, and it was around the time where the first Tough Enough
Hmm.
started, and Taylor, she was the winner. And I forget who the guy was that won,
For
but
the
the first one.
for the first Tough Enough,
Yeah.
Maven.
Was it Maven? Okay,
Hmm.
so he wasn't there, but Taylor was there, and Ken Shamrock was there, and the Blue Meanie, and Jasmine St. Clair, and Wild Samoans, and that was my first like wrestling experience, like ever. And my son was 6 months old, and we flew over to the Big Island, and my then husband at the time, was wanted me to like valet him to the ring because it was kind of his first experience too. He was just getting into it, and was like, yeah, you could walk me to the ring. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know what to do, but all right. And so I took a little sneak peek at Jasmine actually coming out as a valet, and I saw, like, actually I saw her do it after I did it. So I realized how many mistakes I had made by watching her come after me. And I was like, oh man, I was really bad. Okay, so, but we were bad guys at the time. And I just remember walking my then husband to the ring, and um, everybody hated us. And they were throwing stuff at us. They were throwing food at us, water bottles, Coke bottles. I mean, you name it, they were throwing it at us, and they were just hating us. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is what we're supposed to do. And I was kind of like, are they gonna want to fight me? Like, I don't know what, like, I don't even want to look at them. So I just kind of like kept to myself on the side of the ring, like, oh God. But now I know, like, uh, you know, now I know that I should have just played it up, and uh, I should have been enjoying that moment of making them hate me, because I mean, they hated us, so
So
I
were
guess we were
you
doing it right.
were you hooked from that first experience, or was it something you had to think about to get
Um,
back into
I'm
it?
so if you know me, I'm a very go with the flow type of person, and like, you ask me to do something, I'm like, okay, let's do it. So it whenever he would ask me to do stuff like that, I'd just go with the flow. I'd just be like, all right, let's do it again. And every time I think that I did it, I got more and more involved in learning what I was doing, learning the craft, and
Hmm.
learning, like, how can I make this better? How can I be a better ballet? And so, like, me starting out as a ballet was great because it developed, uh, it got rid of the cold feet,
Hmm.
and like, um, it just brought out a different side of me. So I really enjoyed doing that, and it kind of got me prepared for actual, getting in the ring.
Hmm. So how long did you valet before you made the transition to being a performer?
I want to say about a couple of years, because when I started at Deep South, I started as a valet, and I was, you know, high impact ballet, and that was so much fun. But at the same time, like, I didn't realize, like, I was a babyface valet, which
Hmm.
is very rare also. So I took a lot of stuff from watching Lita and the Hardy Boys, because they were baby faces at one time. She was a babyface ballet, and so I was like, okay, so I'm just a cheerleader, I'm just here to like basically cheer my boys on and get involved every once in a while. So that was really fun.
How did your developmental deal come about?
So after my husband at the time, I'm just gonna say my husband at the time, after he got signed and we relocated down to Georgia, you know, I would go pick him up from training, and I remember Bill DeMott like asking me, "Do you wrestle?" And I was like, "No, not really." And he goes, "No, I think you trained, right? You trained at OVW." And I was like, "Well, yeah, I trained, but I had one match. It was awful, And he was like, "Well, why'd you come to training?" He's like, "We got one girl here. She could use a partner." And I'm like, "Okay, I am not good. Like, I'm sorry." But he goes, "No, no, no, don't worry about it." He goes, "She just needs somebody to like work around." So I was like, "Okay." So I went there a couple times, and I was just there to help. Like in my head, I was just there to like do whatever they needed me to do. And
Hmm.
then eventually it became like, "Hey, why don't you take some pictures and we'll just send them up to the office?" And oh my God, the pictures they took of me were after training. I mean, my hair was so frizzy. I threw on some like makeup that they had in the back, and then I borrowed a little outfit and I took pictures. And they were the most horrible pictures ever. And then I heard that they were looking at my pictures and they were like, "Hey, they're really considering giving you a job." And I'm like, "What? That's crazy." And so I just kind of didn't think anything of it. And then eventually it happened and I got called. Tommy Dreamer called me and offered me a job. And I was just like, what is happening? Because never in a million years did I ever think I'd be a professional wrestler.
Were you
So
at OVW while it was a developmental? Did you train there? So what was the
I
major
was.
difference between going from OVW to Deep South?
So when I started at OVW, they had a beginner class on the other side of the river, and it was actually in Ohio. So once you passed the beginner class, or you got signed, they took you over to the Danny Davis Arena, which is now the arena that they use currently. So I got to see everybody go up, like you name it, they were there, and I watched them go from developmental to
Hmm.
television. And at that time, we also did gear. We made gear for a lot of people, and so I got to meet a lot of the wrestlers, making their outfits and getting to know them that way. And the difference was that there it was um, like they were there to do a job.
Hmm.
They were there to get ready for television. They took their jobs very seriously. They were there every day training, and then we were on the road going to shows. And we owned a Suburban at the time, so uh, we got volunteered a lot to take everybody to all the shows, and we lived like an hour and a half away. And we had two kids, and we'd go there for the shows, and we'd take everybody, to the shows, and then we'd take them all back to the arena. And then by the time we got home, it was like I had to get up Thursday, wait, shows were on Thursday. So I had to get up Friday morning with the kids and, take them to school and get them all
Hmm.
ready. So I'd be really tired. But, and then we'd have to go back for more shows. And then eventually, my ex was like, he came home one day and, he just sat outside and I was like, what is he doing? He came home early and he was like, I just quit my job. And I said, oh, okay. And he goes, I came here to be a wrestler and that's what I want to do. So we have to move closer. And I go, all right, I guess we're moving closer, So then we moved up there and it was history. He got
Hmm.
signed and we got relocated to Georgia and the rest is history.
How was Deep South? Because you don't really hear too much, and then the stuff you do hear is usually not good things.
So Deep South was interesting. It was a whirlwind, it was an experience. For me, I'll tell you out of coming from my perspective, it was really intense.
Mhm.
It was really intense. I mean, there were times where I felt like, I was like, am I going to be able to do this?
Mhm.
It was just really intense training. Like, it was crazy. We would have to do like, gosh, I'm not even exaggerating when I say 1,000 squats and push-ups and sit-ups, and we have a whole like workout routine before we even got in the ring, and then we just bump and bump and bump and bump, um and it was I want to say it was the best training that I could have received at that
Mhm.
time, because I learned a lot in such a short amount of time. And um and I got over a lot of fears. I got over a lot of things that, doubts within myself that I thought that I couldn't do, but I was pushed to, just because like you would wait in a line and you would
Mhm.
do a drill and you'd be right after, and there's no time to think. You're just like, oh, okay, here I go. So there was a lot of stuff like that where I was just like, I didn't have time to think. Just waiting in line, you have that fear, and
Mhm.
then your turn comes and you're just like trying to do it to the best of your ability without getting killed. And after you get over that, then you're like, wow, I can do anything. So that was the experience for me at Deep South, was just get through it, like in
Mhm.
my own head, like just get through today, get through
Mhm.
today. And I remember coming out of the curtain on one show, and everything was slow motion. And I just remember looking around and just taking it all in. And I was like, this could be the last time that I actually come out of this curtain or do this. So
Mhm.
I'm just going to enjoy every moment. And that's how I go through life,
Mhm.
basically, is I just enjoy every moment, no matter what. And there could be so much drama going on around me, and, politics and all kind of BS. But for me, I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. And I just have a good time,
Mhm.
because you never know when it's going to be the last time. You
Did
really
you,
don't.
was there any particular trainers you liked working with more than others or helped prepared you more as you were advancing?
I took things from everybody. I mean, we had such amazing trainers coming through Deep South, and I have to say, like, I wasn't like a wrestling fan
Mhm.
growing up. I watched Glow back in the day when I was a young kid, but I never got to go through that whole WCW era and like watch WWF. And my dad just didn't do it.
Mhm.
He wasn't a wrestling fan, so it was just non-existent. So like when I did get here, and people came through the door, like I was learning as I was going. They were like, "Oh, that's so and so," and like people were starstruck, and I was just like, "Okay, like let me see what I can learn from them." And I'm like, "All right," And I loved working with Dave Taylor.
Mhm.
He would teach you things that were outside of the box, um, and he had a way of making you feel like um, he didn't care. Like, oh well, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. And then he'd walk away, and you're just like, I'm gonna do it. But he was fun. Like I really enjoyed learning a lot from him, and a lot of my style actually comes from Dave Taylor. Um, Bill just kind of toughened me up
Mhm.
and made me kind of suck it up. Like he really taught me how to like just don't complain about it, just do it. You know, and if you want it bad enough, you're gonna do it. So
Mhm.
that's
Did,
what I love.
was there any initial plans for what they wanted to do with you, or was it like a day by day as time went on while you were
So
training?
at first, I was told that after they evaluated me and they took, and I got hired, Stephanie wanted me to be with High Impact. And it just made sense because I was married to Micah Taylor at the time. And then she liked the fact that we were from Hawaii. I was the island girl. And then our little tag team was High Impact. So it was like an extreme games
Mhm.
kind of a team, and Tony was like the motocross bike rider. Micah was the skater surfer guy from Hawaii, the Marine, who met his island girl,
Hmm.
over there. And I think we even tried to say that Tony was like my brother or my cousin or something like that, just to kind of like make it all in the family and make it make sense.
Hmm.
But it was a really fun time, and I'm so happy that it started that way because it was just I couldn't have asked to be brought into the business a different way.
Did you stay with them during your whole duration through developmental?
I did. So I started with them, and then I kind of branched off and started wrestling
Hmm.
on my own, like as a singles, away from High Impact. Um, and then there were talks of us going up to television like 3 times. We were supposed to go up, and then things just didn't work out up there. So the storylines had to change.
Hmm.
There was never a time where they talked about bringing me up on my own.
Hmm.
So when we got released, we all got released as a team, and then after that, um, I after I got released, I went on my own for the first time ever. And the first place I went was Japan. And talk about a scary experience because I was just like still green, and didn't know how to like even lead a match because I was a
Hmm.
baby face and I got led a lot. And then when I got to Japan, they pre-planned everything. And not only do they pre-plan everything, but they do like a whole week's worth.
Hmm.
And it's in a different language. So you're just kind of like, okay, and you have this like notebook and you're like trying to write everything down and trying to remember everything. But I love that experience too. Like it was such a fun time for me when I went to Japan. I mean, even though I was scared to death, but they took really good care of me and treated me like a star. And um, the girls there were really great too. They actually worked really well. We worked really well together.
How long was your tour of Japan?
I want to say it was 2 weeks the first time, and then the second time we went, it was another 2 weeks. So the second time I went, we went with the whole team from Hawaii, and it was like Hawaii versus Japan, and that was a fun show. I really enjoyed.
Did going to Japan maybe fuel the fire for you more to like this is what you really want to do? Like you want to dive, head first into professional wrestling? Because it's
Yeah, because so I was in Hawaii and the Japanese promoter and Hawaii Championship Wrestling promoter, they were working together like a collaboration. And so like he would bring his wrestlers over here and then she would fly us over there. So when he brought them to us, they dropped the belt to me and it was the European Women's title. And I was like, oh, okay. All right, cool. And they were just like, yeah, so you're going to have to bring it and defend it in Japan. And I was like, oh, all right. And then it was funny because like when you go over to Japan, you're supposed to get your visa and you're supposed to do all this. And I went I went there without one. And and they said, all the TSA guys in Japan, they all are huge wrestling
Hmm.
fans. And so they went through my bag and they were just like, oh, what's this? And they like pulled out my title and I was like, I'm going there for training. That's what I was told to say. And they're like, okay, okay. They knew what was going on. But they were cool about it. And I made it through.
How was wrestling after coming back from Japan for you over here?
Um, it kind of gave me a little more confidence, on the indies. And I have to say, going from like Deep South or OVW to Deep South um, to Japan, and then going like on the indies was kind of an eye opener
Hmm.
and sometimes depressing because you're just kind of like, is this it? Like, like sometimes it was like in the smallest shacks,
Hmm.
like one time we drove up, there's a toilet outside. in the yard, you know. So stuff like that just kind of makes you like,
Mm,
hmm,
mm,
I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But no, it definitely gave me a lot more confidence, and it did put a fire under my butt to want to like go other places because I was like, oh wow, well, I can go to Japan, maybe I can go to Mexico, maybe I can go to Europe, and
mhm.
yeah, it was totally possible because I shortly after I went to Mexico.
So how was your experience in Mexico? Because wrestling's different everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So in Mexico, okay, that was another place I was terrified to go. Um, I went by myself again, and I had no idea. Like the girl that helped me get over there, she was like, "Okay, so you're going to be dealing with this guy, and they're going to pick you up from the airport, and don't worry, everything's cool." And I'm like, "Okay, So I just went over there. I don't know, like looking back, I'm just like, I could have died. Like,
Hmm.
that was the most dangerous thing I could have ever done. So, like, I get to the airport, have no idea who's picking me up. Anybody could have said they were picking me up. Got in the car, they took me straight to the hotel. They told me, don't leave your hotel room. We'll come get you in the morning. So like I was going stir crazy in my room, like, oh my God, what time is it? Like I didn't even know what time it was. The bed was hard as a rock. Like I couldn't get comfortable. I was like just I was on the verge of just like going Looney Tunes
Hmm.
that night. And then in the morning finally came and they came and got me and we went to the show. But the show was packed. It was the line was around the building already before we got there. I was wrestling for a promotion. I want to say it was AWE. And they had two rings.
Hmm.
So they had two rings together. One was higher than the other, and they worked in both rings. And it was very interesting. And I just remember that the girl I worked with was really great too, and she worked well with me, and we just did a bunch of stuff that I had never done before. She was like, "Okay, we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it." She was talking to me in Spanish, and I was like, "Okay, let's go, let's do it." That's one thing is like, if I trust you,
Hmm.
I'll try anything. Like if I feel like I'm gonna be safe and we're not gonna kill ourselves, so.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun and we were, utilizing both rings and jumping in and out of everywhere and fighting in the stands. And so it was a great time. And then after that, they took me straight to the airport and I came home. So
How
it
was
was a,
your? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just said it was a great experience.
How was it wrestling after, you did developmental, you went to Japan and Mexico. What was the next move for you here?
Motion capture. We did a lot of motion capture. Um, from 2000, let's see, 2007 to 2016 or 17. So I was like one of the main girls
Hmm.
that went every month consistently. And I did everybody's moves. And that's where I really, really learned how to do moves
Hmm.
because other than that, I didn't learn how to do other people's moves just because you don't do them.
Hmm.
So um, that was kind of a terrifying experience too because like they wanted you to do stuff that you just like they wanted me to do stuff that I just didn't do like on a normal basis. Like Tracy does not go to the top rope.
Yeah.
Tracy does not do backflips. Tracy does not like do crazy dives, through the ring to the floor. I just that's not me. But I did them. I did all that stuff at motion capture, and sometimes I even did moves, and I thought to myself, why? Why would you want to do this move? I'm like, this hurts. This hurts me more than it hurts them. So I'm like, gosh, I don't understand it. But yeah, I got to do my first backflips there, and my first dives, and my first everything. Missile drop kicks,
Hmm.
and jumping in and out of the ring and craziness. So
How long of a process is that?
so like day to day.
Yeah.
So it's a full 8-hour day. You go in the morning and you get rommed in and you put your little suit on And, and then they just basically have this shot list where they want you to capture all these moves. So whoever's in the, popular in the game that year, like, let's see, I did Lita's entrance one year, and that was really fun. So they show you on the Titantron what they actually want you to do, and you have to do it to the T, like
Hmm.
the exact same way that they did it coming out. So like your hand has to be the same, your foot, your stepping, everything has to look to that video. And I guess they really liked me because I could mimic a lot of stuff like to the T. And Brian, our director at the time, really enjoyed working with me, and he was just like, God, you get it. Like, I'm so glad, like, you understand like how this works, because a lot of the movements had to be over exaggerated for
Hmm.
the suit, because you don't have hair, and they're gonna put whatever on you, and so I could be anybody from like Nia Jax to, and I even did Vince McMahon one time, so I had to walk like him. Uh, I did Vicky Guerrero. I did a voiceover for her, and I remember somebody told me she listened to it and she was like, "Oh my God, that sounds just like me," and that was really fun. And so a whole day just consisted of ramming in, and then like you had to just do like 100 characters that day.
Hmm.
And sometimes I felt like I was bipolar because I had to go from babyface to heel to babyface to heel, and just getting in and out of character. So it was really fun though. They treated us really good, and um, sometimes I got to go out there and work 2 days and stay a whole week and just kind of hang out with everybody. So that was really fun.
That's a good deal to have.
Yeah, I
Doing being able to travel and go to like Mexico and Japan and do the motion capture, did you ever try to go back to WWE or get on their radar? Was there any conversations since your release?
no. So being married is really, you have to be respectful of your partner, and you
Hmm.
can't like just try to go on your own. So a lot of stuff that we did, we did together. So if we were gonna be in talks of going back anywhere, it would be together, like both of us or none of us. And that's how it was for motion capture. So after my ex got, he he had a concussion, and he had to stop doing motion capture, and so
Hmm.
unfortunately I had to stop at that time too. Um, so there wasn't any time where like I got to have that option of going
Hmm.
on my own, or having any plans afterwards, especially if my other half wasn't going to do it.
Hmm.
So um, yeah, that was
So,
it. So after that, we did a lot of stuff together. Like we opened a gym,
mhm,
we opened a wrestling school called the Underground, and then we also did wife swap together, and that was kind of the last thing that we had done
mhm,
together. Being married was the wife swap, and we featured the wrestling on there. We featured our school, our gym, and our family as a whole
mhm.
wrestling unit because my daughter actually wrestles too.
When you started the school, did you wrestle still, or were you guys primarily focused on running the school?
We still wrestled. We still did shows here and there. And mostly we did it because my daughter was starting to get into the business. Because there was a time when I was contemplating like just retiring and
Mhm,
just stop like focusing on my gym. And I think my daughter was like 15 or 16 at the time, and she had expressed that she wanted to be a wrestler. And my ex was like, no, absolutely not. No, no. Because my daughter was super quiet. Like she
mhm.
never came out of her room. She was in FX makeup and like the goth thing. And she was just very quiet. And when she expressed she wanted to be a wrestler, he was like, what? No. He's like, no, this is not going to work for you, And she was just kind of standing there like, why? Like, why are you telling me no? And he's like, and I said, well, Mina, you actually have to act. and talk to people, and you're going to have to come out of your shell, and you're going to have to be
Hmm.
more, and she was just like, okay, and I was like, and I would just look at, my ex, and he was like, no, 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 this is not the business for her. Like, I don't want her in this business. It just ruins people's lives. Like, I don't want her to do it. And then she goes, well, I'm going to do it with or without your help. So I just wish you would help me. And she walked away. And then I was just like, okay, I guess we have a wrestler on our hands. And that's when I decided I wasn't going to retire and I was going to lace up my boots again and start doing shows with her. And so that's how she actually got started. She actually started coming out and valeting me, and then we ended up being tag team partners, and then we ended up wrestling each other everywhere we went. And then she was like, "Mom, can I please start wrestling other girls?" And I was like, like, yes, I'm not trying to force you to wrestle me for the rest of your life. And so she was like, okay, well, I really want to start wrestling other people and going on my own. You don't have to go with me to every show. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So she started going off on her own. And around that time is when, I started going out on my own.
Hmm.
And then now she's totally on her own and she's doing her own thing. So I'm hoping that I can, open some more doors for her and
Hmm.
uh, get her out a little bit more, get her more exposure.
Where some, I know you've done some stuff with WoW and you did some stuff with OVW. How long have you been doing that part now? Like, what made you go back to OVW? How did WoW come about?
So, I was going through a hard time
Hmm.
and I was really thinking about quitting again. And I just felt like everything was done, everything was over. And I met someone who helped me realize that, I shouldn't be done.
Hmm.
And they helped me out a lot. And I found myself going to OVW. A phone call was made, and I met Al Snow, and he welcomed me with open arms, and everybody there did. They actually were really great. And I went there, and they put me with Freya, and we were cousins, and they did a whole storyline around us, and it was really fun. And I felt like a part of something again. I felt like, I was part of a family, and I loved going up there. And if my, financial situation could afford to do it all the time,
Hmm.
I would, but it's a haul. It's like 8 hours every time. So yeah. So I'm
Hard to do
hoping,
that weekly.
yeah, yes, it's very hard to do that weekly. But I met some great people who will help you out with a place to stay. Like everybody's so inviting, and they're just like, oh, if you need a couch, we have a couch. If you need this, you know. So that was really great. And then I did get a lot of exposure as TT, and I didn't realize how quickly it would catch on, but it
Hmm.
caught on a lot. And I went and did a show in Texas, and everybody was like, "Hey, TT, I saw you at OVW," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, wow, that's amazing," because I had only been out there a short time coming back.
Hmm.
And then so after that, uh, there was another time where because I did get hurt when I was at OVW, and I was like, dang, I don't want them to
Hmm.
think I'm getting too old for this, which I am, but we don't want to talk about that. But no, so I was actually thinking about like, because it was getting expensive to keep going back and forth to OVW, and I was just like, I don't know, what else to do or where else to go. Like, I would love to go to Europe, one time and just see. I just want to my last days of wrestling to be just dipping my foot in to each promotion. Just,
Hmm.
one or two shows here and there, and then just be like, all right, that's great. I'm not looking to, you know, start a whole 20
Hmm.
more years of wrestling, so I'm just kind of wanting to end it with a bang. And so with I don't even know where I was going with this, but what were we talking about?
We're talking about you for OVW,
Okay.
and yeah.
Yeah. So then shortly after that, I was at one of my other jobs. I'm a bartender as well. And I was working one night late and my phone kept ringing and I was like, maybe I should answer this because this number's been calling me over and over. And so they left me a voicemail and it was David McLean. And he was inviting me to Hollywood to be on WoW. And I was just like, what? Like, oh my God. And I'm standing there at my bar and I'm like telling these complete strangers what's happening. I'm like, oh my God, I got a phone call. I got, and they're just like, that's great. Okay. And I have no clue what I'm talking about. But then I went and called him back and he was like, Tracy, David McLean, like we want to invite you to be on international television as a WoW superhero. And I was so excited. I was so happy. And I feel like I finally found my place, you
Hmm.
know. Um, and when I was there, I just took it all in again. And I was like, everybody there was like, where have you been? You should have been
Hmm.
here years ago. And I did get an offer years ago when they had first started, and it was around COVID, and they needed you to be vaccinated back then,
Hmm.
and I I didn't get vaccinated, and so I just that opportunity was missed back then, and so when it came around again, I jumped on it,
Hmm.
and I'm so happy I did, and like I said, I feel like I found my place. So
How is WoW for people that don't know or not as familiar with WoW?
it is so much fun. I don't know, like it's so much fun for me just because it's character driven,
Hmm.
and everybody has like these outrageous gimmicks, and you play up your gimmick to the T, and I just love that I could be myself, but turn it up as the Island Girl to make people understand. When I have a move that I do, and it's the surfboard, and I'm sure everybody knows that, but I added to it, and now I paddle on their backs, and then I catch my wave. And when I said I was gonna do that, oh my God, everybody loved it. They were like, "No, you have to do that. You have to do that." And I was like, "What if I did this?" I was just joking around. And I jumped on one of the girls' backs and I started paddling, and she was like, "Oh my God, you have to do that." So it's just great that I can have a lot of fun with it and not worry that people are going to be like,
Hmm.
"The heck are you doing?" So everybody there just loves to have fun, and it's very entertaining. The more fun you're having, the more entertaining you are, I feel.
What's next for Tracy?
I don't know. I was just talking to somebody about that, and I was like, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. But um, I, everything that I'm doing. So the reason I'm in Hawaii actually right now is because I'm a caregiver, and I'm out here, you know, caring for someone right now, and then I'll go back home and go back to the gym.
Hmm.
But that's just how I live my life. Like whatever opportunities come about is and I feel like they're going to be fun and beneficial and just something that's going to be very memorable.
Hmm.
I'm jumping on it. So it could be anything. Like I don't know, become a skydiver. I don't
If
know
you
what's next for me.
if you had any advice to give to anybody getting into professional wrestling, what would it be?
I would just say be ready at all times. Um, Physical preparedness is a must. Like you have to keep your body in tip top shape. You
Hmm.
have to worry about your appearance. Like you have to portray yourself as a star.
Hmm.
If that's what you want to be, You have to portray yourself as a star. You can't go half-ass out there, and throw some little outfit together and feel like if you're going to stand out, because you need to watch the product and look at the girls on television. They all look like stars. And if you're not giving that type of effort, even on the indies,
Hmm.
what are you doing? Like, if you want to be a star, start wherever you are and be a star wherever you go. Like, don't show up to shows in your pajamas. Don't show up to shows like without makeup and without your hair done, because you wouldn't do that going to a major promotion. You
Hmm.
wouldn't show up to WWE like that. You wouldn't show up to AEW like that. So practice what you're trying to do on the
Hmm.
indie. Like, show up to your indie show just like you would show up to a WWE show.
Couldn't agree more. Where can people reach out to you at?
I'm everywhere. I'm not really hard to find. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I think I have that X thing. Um, not really. I'm everywhere, but I only post on one and then it posts on
Hmm.
all of them. So yeah, I I'm at Facebook as the IGTT. And it's spelled TETE only because Facebook made me do it that way, but that's not how you spell it. Two T's, that's it. Uh, Instagram, I'm the Island Girl TT. Uh, and then I also have my own WoW account, so it's the Island Girl WoW. And then and I don't know if anybody knows this, but my name at WoW is Kalaki. So that's how you can find me there. TikTok, I think I'm the Island Girl TT there too. But yeah, I'm everywhere. Like, not hard to find. I have my own gym. It's so funny because I have my own gym, and it's called New Era Fitness and Wellness. And a lot of people do know that, and they're just like, "Where can I send this?" Or where, and I'm like, "It's on Google. Like, you can just." It's not hard to find.
Well, I just want to say thank you for taking some time out today. Thank you for what you've done for professional wrestling and what you continue to do. It's truly been an honor to talk a little bit about your career today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I just want people to know too, like, I live in McDonough, Georgia currently, and I do have a training facility for any girls or even guys that want to come and train. Um, the doors are always open. So if you need a place to roll around and an affordable place to roll around, because I know a lot of wrestling schools can be really pricey, um, I try to think about the wrestler and think about how I started out, how we started out. We weren't rich, so, and I
Hmm.
know a lot of wrestlers aren't. So if you need an affordable place to train, our doors are always open. New Era Fitness and Wellness.
Absolutely. And if there's ever anything that I can do, please feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much. And I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you.